you were the honor student, the high achiever, the one who knew how to sit still, raise your hand, and make other people proud. But now you're a grown woman or a grown man, if you're listening to this, and you're still seeking or asking invisible teachers for permission. You're still wondering, did I do enough? Was that good enough? And am I still at the top? But what if the standard you're chasing wasn't your own to begin with? Today, we're pulling back the curtain again because this is an episode that is similar to our last one, but I want to take an even deeper dive. So we're pulling back that curtain on the internal reward system that brilliant women and men have been trapped in for far too long. And it's time to ditch what I am calling the gold star gospel and finally live a life that honors the woman and not the performance. And again, if you're a man listening to this and it resonates with you, continue to listen in. If you know a woman that you know what, I think she needs to hear this, go ahead and share that with her. All right, everyone, welcome to the Remarkable Shift, a live series show where high achieving visionaries break free from recycled success models and finally step into their true alignment. This isn't just leadership talk or motivational fluff. This is where brilliance gets recalibrated, blind spots get dismantled, and bold authority gets activated. Here, we do not chase trends. We build legacies with precision. And we don't just talk mindset, we rewire identities. And we don't just develop leaders, we unlock generational change agents. I'm your host, Dr. V, the Brilliant Solutionist and Master Recalibration Strategist for Brilliance, Authority, and Precision. And if you're ready to stop second guessing and start executing and rise into the version of you that's always been hidden in plain sight, let's shift remarkably. So let's take a deeper dive into the honor student conditioning. Now, if you were the honor student by grades, that's cool too, but it's more of a behavior. So even if you weren't the one that was making all the good grades, you may still resonate with some of these behaviors. So let's start with a truth that rarely gets said out loud. The praise that shaped you is now the pressure that is stifling you. I'll say it again. The praise that once shaped you is now the pressure that is currently stifling you from your next level. As a young woman, you learned that good grades equals being good. And again, even if you didn't get good grades, you probably equated that to not good enough. So, you correlated grades with how people saw you. You equated compliance with belonging, and you equated overachievement with love. If that has already hit you, then let me know down below. But somewhere, speaking from personal experience as well, you became addicted to the applause. And so even now, you're still over explaining your brilliance. You're still seeking out the perfect, how to be perfect or the perfected version of you before you show up. And you all know that I don't have a problem with the word being perfect, about being perfect, but it's more of the perfectionism, the bad side of being perfect, because I believe there's a good side to be perfect. And then you're still probably struggling with wanting the A+ for your work, even though no one is grading you anymore. So again, if you tuned into my after hour show last week, we talked about this, but I got some comments and people were saying certain things in my messages, and I was like, let me bring this back home and let's take a deeper dive into that. So you have to understand that you're building your adult life using a performance rubric that has never been built for your freedom. And we're talking about freedom in your mind and freedom how you show up, because technically, if you live in the United States, we're technically free. So we're not talking about that, but it's that mental bondage. I heard someone years ago, she said this, I can't remember her name right now, but she said so many accomplished women live in these pretty prisons. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is like a perfect way to explain it. Like, no one put you in there, but you put yourself in there, but it's really pretty because it's built with accolades and applause and things like that. So let's go ahead and expose this gold star gospel. And so we named it the gold star gospel because it says it's like that little voice that keeps you in check, right? It's subconsciously. It keeps your excellence polished and it doesn't disrupt the system. You just learn how to master it. So you put on this air, this presence, this facade, and it served you well. So don't get me wrong. If you are conditioned a certain way and you have, you present yourself a certain way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you have to understand what is that clay shell that you put on top and why is it there in the first place? But you have to understand, I want you to ask yourself this. You mastered being that way, but what if the mastery of that is no longer enough? You've mastered being that shell, you mastered that standard of excellence, you mastered that level of being polished, but what if it's no longer enough? And we're not talking about in the space of, oh, I'm not good enough. No, you are more than enough, but what if what you're presenting is not enough for you to go to your next level? So stay with me if you're still like, what? Stay with me. So what if you're not meant to ace the test, but rewrite the entire curriculum? That's right. We are not out here trying to just pass these little tests. We want to rewrite our entire curriculums. Too many of us have been trying to study for the test, pass this level, study for the test, pass this level, when it's like, wait a minute, why am I even being tested on this and it's outdated? It's time for you to rewrite your own curriculum. So you didn't come this far just to replicate success. You came to redefine it. And personally, I've had to do that, shifting from a career to entrepreneurship. I've been trying to take everything I've learned in my career space and say, oh, okay, great. Now I can, do this business thing. And that is not how this goes. And even if you're transitioning into a different area of your life, it could be in parenthood, it could be in an empty nester or a solo nester. It could be, from single to marriage or marriage to that single. It could be anything, but you're still trying to operate in that same space because you built up, this is like the standard for yourself. But again, you're trying to pass certain tests that you don't even have to study for anymore because now there's a new curriculum. So that itch you feel, that tug that you feel, it is the craving for something that's beyond the checklist, the titles and the measurable wins. Now, don't get me wrong. We all need those things. There are still things that you want to, tick off, and the activities that you're doing to make sure that you're accomplishing your goals. But what you currently set in place and your how you're framing that is the part that no longer serves you. You're probably still looking at checklists from that outdated curriculum instead of from the new version that you redefine for yourself. So that is your brilliance begging you to breathe. You're probably in a space, whether it's in corporate, business, any of the 18 areas of your life, and you're feeling this tug. That is because your brilliance is screaming at you to let me out of this gold star box, because maybe I want to be a purple star today, or I don't want to be a star at all. You have to give yourself space to do that. So let's talk about the Birkin Blueprint moment. And if you've been listening to me from the beginning of this season, I told you what the Birkin reframe was about. So we're going to have a Birkin moment, like the Birkin bag. Yes. So you walk into every room with every box checked, and you have the education, the articulation, the strategy, all of that. And then for the women that look like me, I know sometimes when, you hear the word articulate, it can do something to you, but we're going to release that too, because you know how to communicate and, own your voice and command your speech. So we're not going to do any hangups. You may need to do some internal work if you're still getting hung up on that, but I got you. I understand, but just keep vibing with me. Okay. So if you're still with all of that, if you're still looking around to see if anyone would validate what you already know, then my friend, you don't need another gold star. You are the standard. And the reason why I want to call this the Birkin reframe is because a Birkin bag, if you ever seen one, it doesn't have the label Birkin all over, right? You just know it by the structure and how it looks. Even if it may be fake from a distance, there's a certain structure and it looks a certain way, right? So you don't have to look on there's no monograms and things like that. You just know that bag when you see it. So that's like you don't have to have the labels. You don't have to like broadcast to everybody what you've accomplished or things like that. You just know that you carry the weight, the worth, and the wisdom. Just like people who carry that bag, the reason why they want that bag is because it is a symbol. It is a status symbol, because the bag itself, without anything else, it is, it gives them a certain weight, a certain worth, and perceived wisdom, right? Or perceived status, we'll say, because there are people who probably can't even afford them and they still want them, but hey, that's whatever. But for you, what I want you to understand is that you do have this Birkin essence about you, because you don't have to you have everything that's there. You already have, like I said, the wisdom, the internal wealth, and the worth without, having it broadcast or plastered somewhere. You have to know that internally. So you have to stop waiting praise from the systems you've already outgrown, right? You have to stop looking for certain applause in certain areas when you go into a new space, because that is not how things operate at your next level. The people that praised you and got you to go forward, those were conditioning things to make sure that you get to where you need to be. But now I want you to know that you've already arrived, but you have to own the fact that you've already arrived and stop waiting for someone to tell you. The Birkin bag sits in the store. No, it doesn't have to shout, hey, I'm a Birkin, look over here. You automatically know what it is if you ever walked into the building or saw someone carrying it or even saw it online. So you have to understand that the shift starts with your self-authority, okay? That is why I created the Authority Builder Snapshot just as a resource. You need it as a mirror, right? And looking at it as a reckoning moment. So many people are out here looking for different courses, different coaches, different, things like that. But you have to start somewhere internally. And I want to give you a you are here now thing. It's 10 questions, very quick. And I want you to understand that to see where you're still living in that honor student type mentality or following that honor student type blueprint, if you're still constantly trying to prove and please and perfect things that no longer serve you, you have to understand that you need more than just mindset work. Mindset work is important, but you also need a new metric for your self-power, your personal power. So the snapshot, the Authority Builder Snapshot, it shows you where your identity is out of alignment with your influence. And then it shows you how your platform is built on performance and not purpose. And we want to make sure that we're always on purpose and not just for performance sake. And then the snapshot shows you what beliefs you've inherited that's no longer serving your legacy. Now it's built on 5 pillars. We can take a deeper dive, but this is just 10 questions. It's just a snapshot just to give you an entry point into a deeper discussion, either with me or with yourself or with someone else. So the 5 pillars that the snapshot talks about, so that you can filter this through the lens to see if you're still living in the gold star, if you're still living by the gold star gospel. Pillar 1 is voice and clarity. Pillar 2 is your signature expertise. Now I want to make sure that you understand that we're not just talking about you have the commodity of packaging your expertise and sell it out here and run your business and things like that. No, you're an expert in multiple areas of your life. So let's not just have that tunnel vision of what expertise is. And then content confidence. Again, not just about doing videos or putting out content on social media, but content in your family, content in your community, and all those other areas of your life. And then pillar 4 is your authority mindset. And then pillar 5 is your digital visibility. Now, this is talking about in the social space, whether you're in your career, having your own business, or want to do something outside of that. If you're on a mission that's bigger than you, then you're going to need some type of digital visibility. So go ahead and take the Authority Builder Snapshot and see where you are. And that's for you, whether you're a career professional in all the suites, all the levels, CD, VP, all of those, whether you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, a culture consultant, a creative or a content creator, an author, speaker, or just a visionary in transition who's looking for their next step. So I want you to understand that I didn't build this Authority Builder Snapshot just to be cute or just to have something there for, another, kind of thing for people to take so I can get their email addresses. No, it is critical because I've seen too many women out here living by the gold star gospel and it's no longer serving you because you're still stuck and stagnant when you could be catapulted into your next level if you just understood where you were and then start the work from there instead of being all scattered all over the place. So the link for that is in the description or is on my link tree or to be somewhere, around this episode. So I want you to, if you are able to stick with me and if this is resonating with you so far, tune in later on or follow me on Instagram so you know when I do our after hour show, which is quietly remarkable. And in that episode, we are going to take a deeper dive into that because if you're feeling like something is bubbling up and if you feel that there's a lump in your throat, then we're not done discussing about this topic. I got some great insight and feedback on our last episode, so I want to just go ahead and drive it home. And so in Quietly Remarkable, when I do the after hour show, I'm going to share the quiet war that so many of us are fighting between the girl we were trained to be and the woman we are finally ready to become. You see the woman that you're ready to become, but there's still something that's holding you back from truly becoming her. And if you're ready to sit with me privately and intimately, we can recalibrate your life's curriculum and we'll talk about all what's possible for you and some version of a VIP Legacy Architect day. It can be 2 days, it can be a power hour, but we can see what best fits for you if you want to have that conversation. And so I just want you to understand that as we wrap up this episode, that your identity is not in who you used to be. You get to have a vision for yourself. And if you're a believer, God has already laid out the blueprint for you. And that's where you need to be in alignment for. But it's really about recalibrating who you are. You don't need to, like I said previously, burn everything down and start over, but you do need to recalibrate. So you need to understand that you don't need another gold star. You don't need another certificate. You don't need another degree. You don't need another whatever it is you think that you need, right? But you do need your own system, your own rhythm, and your own sacred standard. That too many of us are trying to follow somebody else because we hear the phrase success leaves clues. It does, but you pick up those clues and start forging your own path. You don't go down someone else's path. And so the honor student got you here. There is something to being a great student, but now you need to be a great student of yourself, okay? And be the authority in your life, because no one is going to take over. No one's going to drag you to your next level. And you have to understand that out here in life, there's no classroom for that. So you have to, in a way, build your own curriculum. Of course, get mentorship and coaching and support around that, but you are the beginning of the one who's building that curriculum. And you have to understand that there's a curriculum that's already prepared for you. Now, again, if you're a believer, it's quote unquote easier because we just, ask for a divine alignment, supernatural wisdom, and God will tell us exactly what to do. But a lot of us, we already know that, but you may need some support in helping you drive that vision forward. So start off by taking the Authority Builder Snapshot that covers those 5 areas. If you want to have a deeper discussion or just a question, just go ahead and message me on any of the platforms so we can turn this monologue into a dialogue. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Again, it's not so much like, hey, come work with me, but I really want you to have a starting point so that you do take the next step and to get into action and start that momentum instead of being stagnant because you are overwhelmed. Confusion, that's like, oh, okay, I'm confused about something. But if you stay there and you're in overwhelm, that's a strategy. And that's something that you need to work through. And you can only get out of that by taking action. So be sure to step into your next version of your brilliance. And I will see you on the other side either later today or tomorrow for Quietly Remarkable in our after hour show where we will take a deeper dive. All right. So thank you so much for listening and learning with me. Again, let me know what resonated with you down below, and I will see you on the next episode. And remember to stay remarkable because you are one shift away from having the life that you deserve and desire. Until next time, bye.